and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm, of course, Nick McDaniel. As always, I'm joined by my man Myron.
Good morning, faithful listeners and friends. I think we have a pretty decent program for you today. I hope you enjoy it.
I think it's going to be better than decent, man. There's something we got to discuss later. Look, if you're
Controversy.
a little bit of controversy when we get to the indie talk section. We are going to discuss a little bit of indie talk. And here's the thing. A lot of times when we talk indie wrestling, we tell people, like, hey, it's more focused Georgia related. This will actually span nationally, independently. So this is a bigger topic. Look, it is something we saw on an indie show this weekend, but it will impact, in my opinion, the entire national independent wrestling scene. Look, it's so hot, Myron. The funny thing is that we almost cut something, and I said, I might go even a little bit deeper behind the paywall over on our YouTube channel, youtube.com, Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. Search it, Tapped Out Podcast Network. It'll come up there. Make sure, look, because we tell you every week, man, if you want to catch the show on YouTube, make sure you're over there liking the page, subscribing to the page, turn your notifications on, so every time we drop a new, of any time, an episode, text, there we do post in the community post, all that kind of stuff. You'll get notifications, and that way you don't miss anything, because there's lots of stuff behind that paywall. So
yes, it's a wonderful place. You've got articles written by a very, very good writer. You've got all kind of little videos. We're still working on a few things, so keep it up, folks. You'll enjoy that immensely.
Yep, and of course, like I said, every week, if you were a member, you get this show at least at minimum a day early, because we record typically on Sundays, release it on Mondays. And so we always try to get, basically it's the first thing I do when we're done recording is I send that up to behind the paywalls there. So, but all right. So look, we know we're going to get to that stuff, on the indie scene. That's a national issue. But let's talk a little about the national product. Lots of stuff coming out this week that we wanted to address. Let's bounce around a little bit. Let's start. We were going to talk about Smackdown to lead off. Of course, that was the big news this week. Matter of fact, hell, let's just go with that. Smackdown. I saw some of the initial numbers. Look, how cool is it to see that right now Smackdown is hanging around that 2.5 million range?
That's amazing. That is amazing, especially since it's running against another wrestling show on top of that. Okay, let's just be honest. It's going up against another wrestling show and still doing 2.5 million people.
Well, they're not head to head though. It picks up right after it's 8 to 10, and then 10 to 11 is Rampage. So, it's not really head to head per se, but I mean,
And also, it's on a Friday night where most people aren't home.
Here's the argument which we can get to a little bit about. There are more kids home, which is also what the WWE is trying to attract, which is how you get to the 2.3, 2.4, 2.5 when Rampage is pulling 450, because they're obviously chasing 18 to 49, and most of those people aren't home at 10 o'clock, or they're not watching Rampage. Apparently, they're watching something else if they're home. But most people are out and about. I mean, Friday we were at a wrestling show.
If it's sad, it's sad if my old 50-year-old ass is out somewhere and you people in the demographic are not. My activity level is next to nothing, and I find better things to do than sitting at home. I go to indie shows, and I think you would enjoy that more than you possibly could understand.
And we're hit on that. There's another topic that ties into that we want to address later. When we were talking about PLEs and stuff like that a little bit before we started recording. But we were discussing SmackDown. The overnights were like 2.3. Typically, the final number comes in just a hair higher, so 2.4, roughly 2. Whatever. So hanging in that 2.5 range. And we got to remember, it wasn't that long ago they were right at the 2 range.
Yes.
So it's WWE is just like gaining momentum. And
Bloodline.
Well, hold on, because I am going to go out of order and throw you a loop. Because when we're talking about everything rising and the business side, like viewership, and that's a plus. If you see growth, that's a plus. And boy, did we see growth at Money in the Bank. Like some of those numbers came in.
That was beautiful. I love seeing a show go up as well as that did.
I mean, like highest grossing gate, over there, in that area. The viewership was up. I think it was 17% more people watched this year than last year. 9% increase in revenue. Just like
highest grossing non-Mania event in WWE history. Highest grossing non-Mania event. Okay, so all of your others, your Smackdowns, all your other.
Well, by the way, your
SummerSlam.
The Smackdown was the highest Smackdown gate ever.
And why do you think they go to overseas? And why do you think they're putting stuff where nobody's seen it live before? Folks, they know what they're doing. I just don't question them.
Well, look, I'm always going to question things. That's kind of what we're supposed to do, Byron. But
okay.
I think, look, lots of smart moves. Hence why, like I said, if they're setting those kind of records, I think that fan base arguably is hotter than here. So those prices are higher. So the demand's there. And that's why they're hitting the numbers. Look, we'll get to AEW later, but that's kind of why they are where they are with the Wembley show. I think it's because the demand's there.
Oh, yeah. But I think on the whole, WE fans are more positive than AEW fans. Let's look at that.
I think maybe it's I don't know, positive's the word I would use, because the AEW, fans are super positive about the product. There's just not as many of them. It's because they haven't captured the casual fans. I might argue, by the way, AEW fans are more passionate than WWE fans. When you go the true passion part of it, I just think there's more casuals that are watching WWE than watching AEW. That's a different argument, I think. So
is the term casual fan even important anymore, Nick? I don't think the term casual fan is important anymore. I think as long as it does, as long as you're a fan, that's all that matters. As long as you tune in. The problem is we're not making The Rock. We're not making Ric Flair. We're making a program. We're making movies. We're making television shows.
You're wrong. I'll tell you why you're wrong.
Okay, tell me why I'm wrong.
The casual fan matters. And why do I think it matters? Because I think there's about 1.5 million of them that are making the difference between what you're seeing on Dynamite's viewership and what you're seeing on a SmackDown viewership.
No.
It's over double the fan base. I think it's because if you ignore the casual fan base, you see what you see in AEW. Not saying it's a bad product.
I didn't say that the casual fan didn't matter. I say the term casual fan didn't matter because fans aren't really the whole concept they used to be. They want anyone to turn in. They're not dependent on the hardcore fan like they used to be. They're every fan. Anybody that will watch, they're marketing to a much larger audience than AEW. AEW wants these maniac fans to watch and just they can't get enough of this stuff. And WB markets to such a much larger base that they don't care about getting some group of like rabid little guys to watch their shows. And so they draw a bigger audience. They have something for everybody. They're not that super fan based program with such a limited audience. They're more of a production. And that's why they've got a show on A&E where they can tell you about what happened in the past. And like my girlfriend or wife will watch a show about Mick Foley's treasures and stuff he found and things like that, and all that other kind of stuff, an important history of wrestling, but she won't watch matches because they produce a program that's touching, and that's something else they make money for. They make entertainment, not just wrestling.
Yes, I agree with that. But I mean, like I said, I think that's the main difference is you're seeing the numbers from one to the other. So let's go to SmackDown and address some of that. Bloodline, look, I know a lot of the feedback was, hey, that segment was too long, the tribal court. And you asked me, did it bother me that it was 40 minutes? My answer was, if I had my choices, I wouldn't have made it 40 minutes, but it didn't bother me that it was 40 minutes.
Guess what? If you hadn't have told me it was 40 minutes and I hadn't been timing it, I wouldn't have known because I was involved in it. Okay? I fast forwarded to the commercials. I was involved in the moments. Paul watching with the belts on his shoulder. Solo with okay, hold on. Let me get this right. The Ula Fala, is that how they say it? The special necklace? When Solo held it and he didn't know what to do, put the necklace on, give it to Roman, give it to Jay. That was powerful. Okay? That was the conflict, that moral conflict that makes American wrestling so great.
Yeah.
It's a morality play.
I will say that gives, when we talk about that segment, that does go to the, it's more than a wrestling company. It's, that it was basically you were watching a drama that was taking place in a wrestling ring.
Yes.
Yes. So that part is true. How cool was it? Because even my wife was like, oh, Roman with some tears, like legit tears, like, on the face or whatever. So even she bought in for a second, it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe he, has seen the light. And I went, I was like, they got you, hooked you. And it was a great look. I agree. I thought it was extremely well done. Completely sets up, I think, where we're heading down the road. Clearly at this point, it looks like Roman versus Jay at SummerSlam. And we've had, I don't know if we'll save this conversation for down the road about, is Jay the one? Is Jay not the one? Should it be Cody? Because look, we found out Cody ain't wrestling, he's wrestling Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. We're going to get part 3 to that, that dance. So he's going to be tied up, so he's not going to be there. That happened. That obviously went down on Raw. I mean,
I feel so special. I'm so excited. I can't wait for SummerSlam. I'm so geared into this. I'm so like, I want to see what happens. Jimmy got hurt, okay? And I had to go to the hospital. Jay went with him, and you got to see all those people in the back be like, oh, that guy's still signed? Oh, that guy's still, oh, okay. I didn't know Rick Boog was still on the roster. Okay, you got to see all those people that you didn't know was still signed, so that was a positive thing. They were in the back with an ambulance scene, and then Jay comes back to face Roman in a classic scene that's been done before, but you didn't give a damn. All you cared about was Jay walking down there, challenging Roman, and you were wrapped up in it, and the show went off the air. And that was good television, regardless if it was wrestling or if that would have been Law and Order or if that would have been any of your favorite television shows. It wouldn't have worked on Friends or one of those shows, but it was good entertainment. And you felt involved and you felt morally compelled to follow Jey Uso. It was good. And that's what wrestling does for people who follow it like me and you. We're out of the demographic, but it still touches us. And anybody, it would get anybody. I don't care if you're a wrestling fan or not. It would still get you. It's beautiful television.
Yeah, I think they're firing on all cylinders. Like I said, they're heading down that path. Look, well, we were going to discuss SummerSlam a little bit. Look, there's been rumored up to like 8 matches. We're not going to go into them right now, who those 8 matches rumored are. But like, that's a full slate. Now, of course,
there's some heat too. Lots of heat.
Yeah. SummerSlam is the summer's version of Mania, is what they try to make the case for. So being an 8 match card, easy for me to say, makes sense. Being a bigger card, yeah.
I have to ask a question. What independent wrestling show will be running the day of SummerSlam?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm pretty sure there will be.
There always is.
Then how will we watch SummerSlam, Nick?
I mean, we'll watch it whenever. I mean, you could probably pull it up. I mean, honestly, if you look up SummerSlam, I wouldn't be shocked if Southern Honor or Southern Honor's probably running the Friday. What day is SummerSlam, Myron? Do you know? Off the top of your head?
Well, I'll have to get my handy dandy WE website here and look up SummerSlam.
It is August the 5th. So guess what? That is correct. August 4th is
But then there's probably
Rumble
Southern Fried will be running.
So
I would think.
Point we're trying to
But
get
what
at.
do we do? What do we do if there's a live wrestling PLE running? WWE paper PLE running the night of a wrestling show or a family dinner or something we would rather go to.
Listen,
or we have to go to.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, look, if Southern Fried's running,
I'm going to Southern Fried.
We go to Southern Fried. You come home, and either later that night when we come home, we watch some of the stuff we want to watch, or we watch, the next day, whatever. We just catch it. We just dodge spoilers as much as possible, and whatever you spoil, it's not the end of the world. It's part of your freaking Peacock package. So you just watch it.
I like saying that. Peacock package. But yeah, it's just there. I mean, I can watch it whenever I want to. It's not even DVR. Okay? It's just there. It's like the old WWE network. It's there. I pay, $10? Because I never went back and got the $5 package. But you saw a 5-second ad for something, and then I saw why they were going to a match. That's the only difference.
Yeah. If you're watching live, everybody chuckles. I'm as cheap as they come. So I save the $5 a month and just do the $4.99 version of Peacock. I don't mind the ads because I'll go to the bathroom while an ad's on, or I'll go grab a water, or I'll check something on my phone, blah, 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 whatever. It doesn't bother me in the least.
But if I'm watching the next day, I know how all the matches got there anyway. So I'd be tempted to just ease forward just a little bit. It's a very user-friendly network. So
yeah,
maybe I'll scooch up a little bit.
But that was the whole look. It's because of SummerSlam. That's the 5th. Wait a minute, it might be the 3rd. Is that a Sunday or?
August the 5th. August the 5th will be a Saturday.
Okay, so it's another Saturday PLE. So good for us, because we both talked about how much of a fan we are of the Saturday PLEs, just because it means Sunday
what
night.
about
I don't
college
have to
football season, Nick?
So, we're going to tie this into the segue, by the way, of both, because this is where we're going to segue this conversation into the segue of the AEW talk, because we want to talk a little bit about Collision and the obstacles it says. But before we do that, Myron, I have a quick word from friends of ours that we want to share a little news about down in the Augusta, Georgia area this September. Check out a word from our friends over at Canacon. Hey, Augusta, have you heard the big news? September 30th, Canacon is coming right there to 90 Millage Road, right there in Augusta. That's right. That's the American Legion, Post 63, right down the road. 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., that's part of the big chunk of the festivities. Don't forget, however, at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., live concert will be by Radio Cult right there in the building as well. What's going on this year? Great stuff, including, for the first time ever in Georgia. Do you remember the crazy movie back when we were kids, Maximum Overdrive? The Green Goblin head that was there, right there on the 18-wheeler, will be for the first time ever. It will be there. Yes, the original prop from the movie will be right there at Canacon. Also, look, Canacon is really famous for its cosplay championship, and for the first time ever, they're going to take it to a whole nother level. Not only will second and third place get trophies, first place will be crowned with the Canacon Cosplay Championship belt. That's right, championship belt for for the big winner. But hey, look, don't worry about it. Look, the kids are also they're not going to be left out. They got a cosplay specifically for the kids, and they will have a champion as well. And for the first time ever, there will be a Fans Choice Award, like a Fans Choice Prize. So you, the fans, will actually determine one of the winners as well. Special guests are Radio Cult, Kelly Graham, Randall Bishop, Specs Thomas, and many, many more. All of that's going down right there at Canacon, September 30th, 90 Millage Road, Augusta, Georgia. That's right there at the American Legion. You definitely don't want to miss out. Canacon 2023 is coming to Augusta, Georgia. That's right, man. They're coming right down there to Augusta, so we're gonna have some more stuff along the way. I don't know if you saw, if you were watching on YouTube, the picture there on the right, that image with the animated image where it's the Canacon logo with the Green Goblin face, and that exclusive print, by the way, the first 50 people that go in, they're only making 50 prints, actual prints of those. It's an exclusive print for that convention. And the first 50 people that who attend the event are going to get that exclusive print. And that'll be the only way you can get it, is being one of the first 50 in there. So that'll be cool to see. So,
oh, I got a question, Nick.
I got an answer, hopefully.
Are you going to be representing the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network or Tapped Out Collectibles?
I am hoping to make the event. I've had something come up that I have to make sure I can work out. But the plan of right now, as of right now, is for me to be there. Yes, that is correct.
Because I told somebody the other day, they were talking about their dad's comic book collection. I said, I wouldn't trust anyone at all with my parents, any kind of valuable collectibles collection with anybody besides Nick and Tapped Out Collectibles. He's going to always take care of you and give you a fair price.
I try. That's all I can say is I try. But hey, let's jump right in. So we'll pick up where we left off. We were talking about the Saturday PLEs and how that ties into Collision and conversations, because we were discussing this a little bit. And here's kind of where we're going to blur the two companies. We usually try to keep them separated. But so Collision comes out in the 800 range. The next week they're in the mid 500s, and then the next week they're in the 450s. By the way, everybody's going to assume Myron, not me, is going to shit all over them for being at the 450 number. I will be the first to tell you I will not be, because, listen, it's 4th of July week, dude. Like, come on.
Secret information, Nick McDaniel, is his ideas are bolstered, and he likes a certain thing now. I will tell you, I think the CM Punk experiment failed. I don't think he was able to generate enough buzz to keep the show going. Do I think the show is a failure? No. I think Nick can tell you why the show's not a failure, though.
Well, let's back up to what you're saying. We talked about Punk. I will differ in saying I don't think they hit the 800,000 number if Punk's not back on that first show. I think Punk is the reason they drew the number they drew to start. However, what did we say when it happened? Like, let's see where my argument was. I said, let's see where they are 3 months from now. Well, the scary part was it literally took 3 weeks. And I'm like, this is where they are. Huge difference. God, this thing goes in so many different ways. My brain's already exploding trying to pick the path that I want to go down next. I want to see where next week's number is.
Okay. Well, let me ask you a question.
I know we recorded, let's full disclosure, we're recording on Sunday. Last night's episode, I need to see where those numbers are to see, like, where are we going to settle in? I think that's, when we start. And honestly, even then, you're still kind of in the 4th of July weekend, right? Yeah. So you kind of, because it was midweek. So I almost need to see a trend over the next couple weeks to where they're going to settle in at.
Well, let me ask you a question. I have been studying Jonathan Coachman, the former WE employee, works for ESPN now. Instead of studying Ryback's, he posted, that was something you never want to look at. But Jonathan Coachman, he seems fairly well versed in the wrestling business. He stated that once ratings go down, they never go up. Is this salvageable not from a programming standpoint, but from a rating standpoint?
Yes, I think he's wrong. We just talked about how WWE was down around closer to the 2 million, and now they've crept back up to the 2.5 million.
I'm not talking about in the 2 million range. I'm not talking see, that's incidental, that change. That's great.
800 to 400. Now, my argument, because here's the thing. I think this is where I think he's wrong in one aspect. I think he's like, oh, they were 800. By the way, even Eric Bischoff points out, if 800 was their original number, where they should, you're going to lose 25 to 30% after your first week. Remember this? Smackdown was like, wasn't it close to like 4 million, like when they first hit Fox or something? Because The Rock was there and, they grew some crazy number, and now where are they at? We're not fucking talking doom and gloom about SmackDown, because when it debuted, it was at 4 million, and now it's at 2.5. I mean, so if they were at 800,000, if that was their peak, if that was their max, and then they lost at 20, and they're down around 650, and then let's say they peter down a little bit more and they're closer to like the 500 range, let's say they settle back in at the 550 range, 500, 550 range. By the way, Jonathan Coachman's wrong on two things. So the numbers can come back, especially because, God forbid, he's basing it off of a number on a 4th of July week. So let's get outside the holiday window. Now, we're going to address the ESPN, the college football thing. Give me a second to get there. But as far as like coming back, it can be done. 2, this is okay. Let me address the ESPN issue because I know that's where you want to go next. Like when college football comes back.
I've got a question. Once you
go ahead. I'll let you. Go ahead.
My question. Well, it's not a statement. I think you're comparing a SmackDown number from when there was nothing else on television, from when there was basically no cable TV except for USA, from the time where there was not a lot of...
No, I'm talking about when they moved to Fox. That's less than 4 years ago.
You can't compare TV 4 years ago.
Why?
No streaming services.
Yes, there were.
No, things were completely different 4 years ago.
But okay. I wasn't... Okay, but here's the thing. I'm comparing... Even then, shows debut at like 1 million, and then when they settle in, they're at like 700,000 range or whatever. I'm talking new shows, current shows. I'm literally this year.
What you got to look at what were they doing before they went to Fox to be able to judge this adequately. Okay. I really do believe numbers from 4 years ago are not valid at numbers that they are now, based on what I have studied from people who do television. I'm not talking 4 million. Like we're talking I'm not talking about how big the number was. I'm talking about the drop from like even when they were at 4 million for their debut. Within, I think Bischoff said within weeks, they were in the 2s. So it was 4 years ago, but we're talking about drop percentages. We're not talking about total numbers. And so and by the way, he said that 25 to 30 number is like a Hollywood standard. They kind of know that's about what you're going to get. Your debut's going to draw this, and then in weeks 2 and 3, you're going to be 25 to 30% less because a bunch of people out of curiosity watched and went, 2 things happen. It's not worth watching, and they just stop watching. Or 2, it's like, hey, it's good, and we'll check it out when we can, and when we whatever. It's not must-see TV, and that's where your 25 or 30% number goes. So what you're telling me is these are parallel numbers, 4 million to 2 million, and 800,000 to 400,000, which makes sense.
Well, they were still higher. They were still higher. They were in the 2.8s, whatever, back then. But my point being, when the comment that I can't agree with is that when he says when the ratings numbers go down. Now, is it hard to do? Yes. But when ratings numbers went down, they just don't come back. I'm like, okay, well, I think Raw's proving that incorrect. I think because this year alone, they're up. SmackDown, they're up. NXT, they're up. Now, granted, so if somebody's saying like, oh, was it hard to do? Yes. It took, look, turning those numbers around were like turning a ship, like a big cruise ship. It didn't it wasn't turning my Kia Soul. It was turning, a big cruise ship. It took time, momentum, and they got it turned, and they turned the corner, and the numbers have started going up. Can it be done? Yes. Can the AEW turn that number around? Yes. The question becomes, now let's address the ESPN college football issue. We were having some conversations with some people about, what about the 8 o'clock ESPN game that comes on Saturdays? So if you're not a college football fan, I know, look, Germany, Belgium, Ireland, some of our listeners that are in these other countries, college football in the United States is a big deal.
Especially
the
in
SEC,
the South.
Especially the South. The SEC, which is the Southeastern Conference, is a lot of the schools based primarily in the southeastern corner of the country, where the good football's played. Those contracts for those TV negotiation rights happened, broken across multiple networks. The SEC on CBS has game 1. They get to pick the game first. Then ESPN essentially gets the night game as the second pick kind of thing. And that goes on at 8 o'clock in prime time. So that's the game. So for the most part, not always, for the most part, you could argue the second biggest game in the best conference in college football will be going head-to-head with Collision on a weekly basis. Will that always work out? No. Most cases, yes. So the argument being is once that starts, what the hell does that do to, to Collision for about 3 months, roughly 3-4 months?
The fundamental thing is it the same audience? I think that's a mistake that Coachman's probably making.
Correct.
Because I don't even know if it's the same audience.
I don't think it is either. You nailed it right on the head. I don't think it is.
How many 30-year-old virgins want to watch football?
Listen, I that's a whole other debate, but I just don't think it's the same target demo. And I only tell you that going to certain events that I go to. I don't think those are college football fans as a whole. Now, are there some there? Yes. Why? Because I threw my hand up and was like, hey, because I'm here, and I'm a big college football guy. So it does.
I'm a Georgia alumni. I'll watch every game I possibly can. Just all the way it is.
All that being said,
but what happens
it is going to hit the number. Yes. Is it going to be as drastic as I think as everybody thinks? I don't know. Time will tell. We will find out. The question, though, Myron, is then it goes, well, if it gets really bad, what happens to Collision? Brake pedal. Let's not be hypocrites. This is how we led into this conversation. Well, Nick, you're not a big you don't have a big problem with SummerSlam being on a Saturday. Now, first of all, that's not college football season yet. But by the way, I will ask you this: in the fall, it don't matter whether you're running Saturday or Sunday nights. You know why? Saturday nights you're up against on a cable television channel. You're up against theoretically the second best. We just talked about second best game and the best conference in college football. Or, hey, fuck it, we'll run on Sunday. Well, good luck with that because you're running up against an NFL game that's on NBC, which is not even a cable channel. You're up against a primetime NFL game on broadcast television. So pick your poison. I throw my hand up, by the way. I would say there are more casual NFL fans than there are casual college football fans. So throw me up against the game on Saturday instead of on Sunday. That's just my take.
Yeah, and to clarify things for people in other countries and my friend Heath, Clemson fans are just Tennessee fans that can read.
So, anyway, that's now, but again, here's the difference. Running a pay-per-view versus running a PLE. Massive difference. This is where we discussed off of the air.
We had this. This is one of the times we had to play. Explain this to Myron, because Myron hasn't bought a pay-per-view in a long time.
Yeah.
I remember. I would buy the pay-per-view and we'd get pizza. There was a place in Lawrenceville. I can't remember the name of it. I would get this damn good pizza and 3 or 4 of my friends would come over. And we'd watch the pay-per-view. But that ain't how it works anymore.
So AEW, when they run their pay-per-view model, and you go head-to-head, and they've been doing it for years. By the way, they've been running on Saturdays and Sundays, so this isn't new to them. The obstacle is, and the difference is, I think this goes back to proving that the fan base is not the same. Because it didn't seem like it mattered. They kind of stayed in a certain wheelhouse on pay-per-view buys for the most part. WWE can run their pay-per-views on Saturday and Sunday, and it doesn't matter because guess what? Doesn't matter when you watch it. This is the conversation we had. We don't have no qualms with going to Saturday night to Southern Fried shows, going to any show, going out with our family, going out with our friends. Doesn't matter. That's why I didn't give a shit that Money in the Bank was at 3:00 in the afternoon. I had shit to do. I didn't watch it all. I watched some of it, but not all of it live. Didn't matter because it didn't cost me a penny to watch it like whenever and what I wanted to.
I watched part of it. Went over to your house to go to wrestling. It was on the TV at your house, and I'm like, no spoilers! No spoilers!
Yeah.
Babu. Sorry, I've been watching a little bit too much Babu Frick lately.
But the point being is we were discussing the whole concept of with Peacock, they are buying content that will make you continue to subscribe to their service every month. They're not trying to sell you you have to watch this live. Because the argument was it's really, really hard to get me to buy an AEW pay-per-view after the fact, after I know what happened, to come out of my pocket for that kind of money, versus I have no issues with going, just clicking my Peacock on and putting it on and watching it because it doesn't cost me anything.
Mm-hmm.
Huge.
Because it's already there.
It's already there.
I mean, y'all watch stuff on Peacock that's not already on, like wrestling.
Oh yeah.
And upstairs where the TV is watched for all kind of other stuff, they watch stuff on Peacock. There's everybody in my. Have you ever y'all got those accounts on those streaming services where it's like Holder, that's me, and it's just a generic picture. Then everybody in my family has some kind of stupid ass picture.
Ours say parentals, so that's like me and Rachel. Yeah. Like on our Peacock, for example, it says parentals, and it's Roman Reigns. Makes it easy. Then it's like, I think like Kirsten's on Peacock is like Ice-T from Law and Order, because she binge watches the shit out of, you know what I mean? So it kind of picks the shows that they kind of like. That's kind of their main thing or whatever. But Disney Plus, Netflix, blah blah blah. We all have our own profiles, because although I wish
I could not share a profile with Melissa because she has the worst taste in television shows.
So it's sidebar, he's not listening. Shit. I share Netflix or Max, one of the two. I can't remember. I share with our buddy Kerry, and that motherfucker, he will save shit. He has his own profile, but he's like, he hadn't figured out he has his own profile that says his name under it. So like one day I went in there and it's like your list, and it's like a whole bunch of, by the way, he watches shit that's like old fucking movies from like, back in his prime, like from the 80s and the 90s. And I'm like, I didn't put these on my list. I don't know why these fucking movies are here. And I'm like, no, they're not horrible movies, by the way. They're just shit. I'm like, I don't know why these are here. I didn't put them there. It's Max because it was on Max. It's like old like action movies and shit like that, like our Racer with Arnold Schwarzenegger and shit like that are on, like he's going back and watching these old ones. I know this because Deadliest Catch that's like, I saved it under my list because it's by the way, Max, fuck you. It's one of the hardest shows to find when you're going to, and we watch it every week. So I added it to my list. Well, Kerry added like 12 movies. So now Deadliest Catch is shoved all the way to the right on the list. Anyway, how the fuck
now,
we got down that rabbit hole?
You said he wasn't listening. That's because you didn't specify.
Don't.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Okay. That's, you got to know
watch on YouTube with closed captions. He watches on YouTube with closed captions.
Closed captions? What the fuck are closed captions?
Captions.
Captions. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
I think you must have skipped.
So let's go back. Sidebar it off. Sorry, guys. I apologize for that. Lord,
we're sending this one to Conrad for an application.
So that's our point of PLEs on Peacock don't matter when they do them. By the way, apparently it was Nick Khan's idea. Kudos, by the way, because I love them. Lets me watch it during the day on Sunday.
Khan. Genghis Khan, Nick Khan, Shaka Khan, my favorite Khans.
No.
Those are the Khans that go in the Khan Hall of Fame. Nick Khan is probably the greatest of all Khans. After right there with Genghis Khan. Because seriously, think about it. He revolutionized the wrestling business and continues to. Triple H makes the wrestling. Tony Khan puts the wrestling out there. You know who the worst booker in professional wrestling is, Nick?
Who?
The internet.
That is true. But point being, let's go back. I don't think this is a look. By the way, I teased out the Source brothers have been talking this week, and we want to talk about this before we move along to our next stuff. Next stuff's going to be big, and I want to have a few minutes to talk about that. But look, we were trying to get in about the collision numbers, about how low is too low, right? That's, I think, the ultimate question that everybody asks. What's too low? If they're around 350, does Warner pull the plug and they move on? You discussed the CM Punk project. Is Collision the experiment, not CM Punk? I have come to the conclusion after being from multiple sources. Look, I am not going to say that like, hey, look, I heard. Eric Bischoff has like wink, wink, nod, nod. he believes that Warner's got a percentage of it. I was told, yes. It's like, look, they're not going to say it for whatever reasons. I don't know why. Because Eric Bischoff plugged the hell out of, like, he wished Spike would have gotten involved and owned a percentage of TNA back in the day, because he thought they would still be potentially running wild, no pun intended, Hulkamania, brother. They would be running wild. And I think at this point, look, I've heard multiple numbers. The number I hear multiple times and on the most regular basis is that they own roughly 30% of AEW now.
Now, Nick is plugged in to more places than an iPhone with a bad battery. I'm telling you, he's got his sources. I trust him 100%. I do believe that they are comfortable with their content. All in all, they wouldn't have put it on 3 nights. They wouldn't continue to keep giving them nights after the Rampage thing if they didn't have some form of stake in it.
You would think, right? You would think.
Okay.
But time will tell. But, there is the argument to be made. If you're making as much money running syndicated repeats of Big Bang Theory or Friends or whatever, business decisions are business decisions. So that'll all have to be figured out down the road. So, but listen, speaking of business decisions, there's not many things, Myron, that we tell you about how you should spend your money. But every week we have one segment where we do just that. We say, like, hey, take some of your hard-earned money. And it's, by the way, it's never us. That's the messed up part, really. Like, this isn't about us. We always want to point you in the direction and say, look, there's a T-shirt you should buy at Pro Wrestling Tees this week. And this week, great friend of the show, great dude. He's out of action right now, so we're kind of like, look, show him some love. Go over there and buy a shirt for none other than Sal Renaro. By the way, I love the He-Man design.
I bought this shirt. I just bought this shirt. It's so nice to find a wrestling shirt that's not all black.
That's why Sal made this list. He's got more shirts that are not black than most. And I was like, oh, dude, he's got like different, like he's got a yellow and it's like purple and he's got he's got the blue. I'm like, yeah, man, get you some colorful versions of T-shirts. Like, that's the other thing. And that's been my next design, for us, is I want to get some shirts that are not black.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt Sal's part, but we have been working on a line of women's clothing. Have trouble in the focus groups. I had a shirt with just my picture on it. That only polled well with women over 30 and single mothers. So we had to put back to the drawing board. We're working on something else right now. Hopefully more women will like it. So we'll go from there.
But if you like a colorful shirt, Sal Renaro, check him out. Pro Wrestling Tees, of course, in the all in the description. The link is there, like always, and we'll share every week. I'll share it on social media as well, so you can click and take you straight to his stuff to get a shirt from him. And Myron, you brought it up. I'm working on a tank top, a women's tank top. So if we've got some women out there, some of the listeners, message us if you want to. Maybe they'll be the ones who will get a couple of them and ship them out so they can model those things on social media and actually promote those shirts for us when we get them designed. So
at least half of my clothing comes from Pro Wrestling Tees, and I'm a large man. There is no better endorsement than that.
But it's the great Bill Burr says, if you're one of the ladies and you're looking to sport some gear, let us know and we'll get it out to you, and you can market those things on social media. But listen, speaking of, this wasn't a marketing thing. Let's get into what went down on Friday. Yes. I can't even talk right. Friday night.
This might be independent wrestling, but this has implications worldwide.
Agreed. So Gary Lamb. All right, let's backpedal it. Cruel was and is the IWTV World Champion. He was out for a minute.
He was injured.
Yep. And then they did whatever they did, and they crowned a new champion, who they're calling the champion. Then they're putting out statements like, oh, well, we don't have an undisputed champion and blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. Here's my thing. Gary comes out and cuts the promo basically saying,
at Southern Honor.
At Southern Honor this Friday. We were there. He came to the ring. Gary's the promoter of Southern Honor Wrestling. This is, I guess, we are talking nationally here, so kind of a little backstory a little bit.
And I hope that promo gets out nationally because it was much more Jesus Christ, it was so much better than the promo the guy from IWTV put out. That looked staged and so unprofessional.
Gary basically said, Cruel has never been pinned. He has never been beaten, submitted, whatever, any form or fashion. By the way, that is correct. So Southern Honor will recognize Cruel as their IWTV World Champion. Lots of pushback. Gary's did not hold back on his feelings towards IWTV and about how like it's very cliquish and how it's run, up at the top. There's a handful of people that kind of run how that thing goes. It's look, and it is what it is. Like, let's leave it for what it is, right? I have my whole stance on streaming independent wrestling shows.
Yes.
If you're a promoter, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. I'll share my opinions with you on that part. But the ultimate thing came down to this. I said months ago, hold your seat, Myron, because this is going to get bumpy for a minute. Months ago,
fantasy lab chair.
Months ago, I said if IWTV, had any sense about him, they would give Cruel the opportunity, and he would be the face of that company. He would be the face of that streaming service as the IWTV World Champion. They gave him one shot, and he absolutely took it. I mean, destroyed one of the best wrestlers on the independent wrestling scene, right, in AC Mack, and became the IWTV World Heavyweight Champion. He was literally somebody that you could get behind. You could make action figures with, because God, somebody did do that. Action figures of this guy. You could have him everywhere. He could wrestle every style, any promotion, anywhere. And here's the thing. In the world, he's not even like a U.S. talent. He can wrestle anywhere on this godforsaken planet. He is a guy who, when he walks into your ring, he instantly gives you credibility in your promotions. He is fucking Cruel.
Yes. And nobody wants a Matt Tremont action figure. You're not going to give that to a little kid unless you don't like him. Every picture I see of him is covered in blood and got light tube fragments. He's not a good role model. He's not the guy you want representing your company.
You know why I'm so mad though, Myron?
What?
Why did you do it? Like, why? Because you thought like IWTV, the mistake you made was you thought this guy was a normal man and he was going to be out. Oh, he's going to be out a year. He's going to be whatever. What he proved was he ain't no freaking normal man. He was back way sooner than anybody ever thought. He never was beaten. You couldn't just be patient and you couldn't wait. IWTV created this controversy. They created this issue. Just let the man, when he came back, like, there's your champion. Why? I mean, you want to look, if one thing, I don't particularly love it, but how about you go UFC style, AEW style, and crown an interim champion? The second that guy was back, put that interim champion in there and watch him get squashed by Cruel, and then your controversy's over. But now promotions are going to pick sides and take sides, and anybody in their right mind will go with the guy who was never beat. The guy who's never been defeated.
I don't even know if having the IWTV championship is good for your career. I don't know if it's a plus for you. I would think that if this is the way it's going to be, that you could be better managed to go with a guy like Gary Lamb. I mean, these people don't even have as many Facebook followers as we do. I don't go on Twitter. We don't have a market on Twitter, so I don't even know what they're going on. We found that the wrestling fan, the average fan.
You're proving my point. Because somebody like Cruel is the one who takes you to the next level. That's kind of the whole point. Go with the monster. Go with everything. Like, look, I mean, he is the face of your brand. Why would you even remotely try to go, like, just hold on a second and just, like, give the monster, give the beast, give the monster some time. Like, did you know he was going to be gone or how long he was gone? Or did you just pull a knee-jerk reaction and you go the different direction? Point being, at this point, Cruel is the IWTV World Champion. Tremont's a guy who has a belt at this point that, to me, he needs to prove to anybody. Anybody that says Tremont's your IWTV champion is nuts because he hasn't beaten the last guy who was the champion. He's an interim champion at best, and Cruel, so like IW, Southern Honor, all these, Action, all these people that are around, Cruel's your champion. If I'm wrong, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Tell me why I'm wrong. That's all I'm saying. I don't think I'm wrong, nor, and you're not going to convince me otherwise that he's not the IWTV World Champion. It's that simple. Like, I don't get why it's even remotely this complicated. And by the way, go to IWTV on Twitter, go to IWTV on Facebook, go wherever and explain to them. Don't message them, by the way. We're not talking DMs. Tag them.
Jesus Christ, people stop doing that, for Christ's sake.
Literally tag them in everything and explain to them why for a fact Cruel is your IWTV World Champion, and any promotion that that basically get any promotion that you attend shows to that are on IWTV. Why that's the champion we all recognize.
And for anything else, just to totally break kayfabe, it shows it's a horrible marketing mistake. It's an absolutely horrible marketing mistake. You don't see WWE making mistakes like this. You don't even see Tony Khan making mistakes like this. Why? Are you wanting everything to be a death match? Are you think you can sell death matches to your general wrestling audience? No, you can only sell them to those little weird virgins sitting in basements. Their mother's basement.
Listen,
we own our basements.
Death matches may not be our cup of tea. I understand they have a market. I understand and here's my thing though. The difference that I say why I'm such a fan of him being that he is your champion, he can do all the above. He can go to Southern Honor and he can represent. He can go to ICW, he can represent. So he can go everywhere. I mean, so it's not he's not just a deathmatch guy. But I tell you what, I don't want to fucking face Cruel in a death match. If anybody in their right mind would want to.
The Lord Humongous when I was a kid. The Lord Humongous was absolutely terrifying in Continental. He was the guy, okay? He was the guy. He was scary as hell. Cruel reminds me as that guy. He has all the stuff, okay? He has Brooklyn with him if he needs a manager. Okay, he's got the whole gimmick down. His video, have you seen those videos, those promotional videos that he does? How can anybody top those? Okay, how can anybody top those? He draws great houses everywhere he goes. Even though I don't think anyone in indie wrestling can draw a house on their own, he does a very good job. I've seen promoters bring him in when they know they need to secure a good house. I can't say any more good things about the guy. He is the one that should be their champion. He is their champion. And I was about to say,
there ain't no should be. He is their champion.
I just can't believe they're making such a horrible mistake.
The other guy's just carrying a belt, basically, that he was a placeholder trying to fill in gaps. And now, now that the champ's back, there is your IWTV World Heavyweight Champion. So, anyway. That's where our little bit on that was. Also want to plug out, I know this weekend, IWE's this weekend, Myron. Lots of stuff.
Oh, cool.
Oh, who's going to be there, by the way? Cruel. So Cruel will be there. There's a sliver of hope I might be going down to the show again. I know we have to say it all the time, but my anniversary's this week. Jesus Christ, what day is that? Might want to have to look at a calendar, Nick. Because you're okay, cool.
We need to put a calendar handy for you.
Yeah, I just had to make sure that I didn't have anything booked for that day. That was the issue. So point being, I thought about, hey, look, maybe take the wife down to like Savannah for the weekend, slide over to IWE maybe on Saturday, catch the show, and then slide back home on Sunday or something like that. So there is a chance. So definitely look, if you're down in that Augusta area, check it out. It's there at the American Legion right there, in Augusta. Check them out. IWE Cruel will be there. I mean, look, the Exotic Youth are, that's their home there. All Star Special, White Mike, et cetera, all the talents that Skrilla's there. It's on and on and on. The list, it's a great promotion, so you should definitely check it out right there in Augusta. IWE, check them out. Give them a follow, and there's probably still some tickets you could pick up. And by the way, vettix.org, check them out. There's tickets you can pick up there, complimentary for the people that are in the military and or retired military, etc.
Nice.
So definitely check that out as well. I'm a big proponent of VetTix. I wish more promotions did it. So check, especially anybody that's in the military or has been in the military, check them out. vettix.org. I always, by the way, that link is always in our show description. I always leave it there so people can check those out. So definitely will. So anyway, look, that's a lot going on, but look, we told you we're going to try to get out of here before we go too long, but we always have to kind of remind you, make sure you're checking us out over on YouTube. Like the page, subscribe to the page, turn your notification on, all that good stuff, and hell, become a paid member behind the paywall there. Look, not that there's not one on Patreon anymore. Wink, wink. That's all in the show notes as well. Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast, Tapped Out Podcast, right there on YouTube. We greatly appreciate all the support we've had over there. Even the OGs, man. Look, before we were video and we were just audio, all the people that are over it still listening to us on the podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, except Google Podcasts, you name it. We're on pretty much every single platform. Even though Stitcher's going away, so if you're a Stitcher listener, make sure you're finding a new home from one of the many, if not, any of the other platforms. And definitely become a subscriber. We greatly appreciate all of it, man. Give us those 5-star ratings and reviews. Because look, if I always tell people, and this is again, all of this will be in the show notes. You see it there on the bottom left. Like great supporters that we have. We have Manscaped, Lipson. People ask me, like recently they were talking about podcasts and like, where do I go? Who do I use? And I'm like, just Lipson. It's where you want to go.
Yes.
It makes everything easy. It distributes everything out to all of the major platforms for you, so it saves you a lot of headache. Go to Lipson.com, use the promo code TAPPED, and you can get up to 2 months for free on your service just to try it out. Because everybody's like, I'd just go free. You get what you pay for with free lots of times. That's all I'm going to tell people. So, Again, Lipson.com, use the promo code TAPPED, and get signed up and get a couple months for free. So, man, that's everything I have this week. You got any other content you want to throw out there?
Man, we were talking about Southern Honor, and just outside that amazing Gary Lamb promo. I hope that gets out totally. The world needs to hear that. The world of independent wrestling needs to hear that. There were quite a few phenomenal matches on that card. Logan's triple threat were handicap match. Not Logan, Curl, sorry. And some of the other stuff. It was beautiful. Such a well-produced. We're going to be missing Garrett. It was his last show to work. We are so blessed to have some of the best indie shows in the country here in Georgia. And my whole thing is get out. Find everywhere in the country there are good indie shows. Get out there and find them. If you go to an indie show and it's an Outlaw Mud show, keep looking. You'll find one you like. There's good shows out there, and you'll enjoy it.
Look, I do want to add. You brought up it, and I didn't completely got tired. I got so passionate about the Cruel stuff. Congrats, kudos, Chip Day, the inaugural Jake the Snake Roberts champion. Big fan of Chip Days. Have been for years. Southeast Best Kept Secret, all those, he's got a million nicknames that he's gone by, but he's a super talent, and glad to see him be the first representative of the Jake the Snake Legacy champion there in Southern Honor. So lots of cool. By the way, kudos just to see Jake, right?
Yeah. Put the old DDT on Bryce Cannon. It's so good to see the Exotic Youth. It was okay. So here's the funny thing I hadn't got to you. I was about to have a conversation with some people, and Homo Bear Hansen grabs me and shows me. He has to show me his merchandise cart. He has one of those storage containers, okay, like those big, like people can live in type storage containers that they stack up on ships. He has one of those full of merchandise and shirts he has made himself, and the menus that they have for their merchandise look just like Waffle. I'm sorry, I'm a mark for Waffle House. I fucking love Waffle House. They got these things, and I had to give it to him. I mean, it's like a shipping container. The huge amounts of merchandise these people bring. They had slap bracelets. They had fans. They had. I can't even remember all the stuff they had, and they sold it all.
Yeah, I was gonna say they completely sold out of shirts at Southern Honor. Like, look, we've shared a couple times now their little merchandising seminar that they're going to be doing.
Yeah,
check it out. Like I said, literally sold out of shirts they brought to Southern Honor, completely gone. So that's 2 consecutive shows that they've sold out shirts back to back at Southern Honor. Literally sold the ones off of their backs, literally, to have no shirts. So kudos to them, man, and they're crushing it out there.
Yeah.
So look, if your merch, is lacking a little bit, there's nothing. And this is the thing I don't get about here. I said I was going to be done, right? And here I go. There's nothing wrong, man, with asking people. Like, I was having this kind of on a personal thing. This was not even wrestling related. Like, man, take advantage of people's strengths. Like, you're not like an idiot. I think you're an idiot for not asking for helps. I think because I always tell people there's a difference between stupid and ignorant. Ignorant is nobody. No, ignorant. Literally, the word ignorant means you just don't know. Nobody's ever taught you. I mean, like, oh, Myron, I'm ignorant to engines. You know why? Nobody ever taught me how to build one. So I don't work on them. I go to somebody who does. So my thing was, look, if you're looking to up your merch game in wrestling, I don't know, ask guys who do really well at it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a start. All-Star Special seems to be doing pretty damn well at it. Ask them. Exotic Youth the same. Listen, I argue, and people can, look, Ray Fury, friend of the show. I saw him recently, and every time I see him, one of the best merch tables, in the game. And so, like, reach out to those guys. All-Star's doing a seminar. Take advantage of it. Go listen. Like, if they're doing something, like, you're not, why not figure out how the heck they're doing it, right? It's the best thing you can do. So take advantage of it, and that's just all I want to say. That's all I got to say.
Hey, I'll tell you what, man. I would have got my Jake the Snake autographed 8x10 that I've always wanted, but I was making deals for some other shows and doing other kind of things because hustling is the most fun part of all of this. It was good to see Hunter. Todd came out in his wrestling gear. He's still retired, but I saw his gear. Always good to see Nick Halen. His tan is amazing. It was a great show. It was a really good show. I have more fun every time I go to a show. And we sat next to Grandpa Booker T, to me, the greatest referee in the state of Georgia, if not the Southeast. He was there on an off night.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love hanging out with Grandpa Booker. He's awesome.
Yeah. Yes. He knows more than anyone else in Georgia. I'm telling you, he's seen it all.
He's seen a lot. I will say that. He has seen a lot. That is true. So, well, brother, that's all I have this week. You got anything else before we get out of here?
No, I got nothing.
Well, what's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.